Hello and welcome to coverage of the World Magic Cup here from Amsterdam. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Brian David Marshall, and as you can see, it's a team event. 3 different matches going on in the feature match area, and we're kicking off things with Ole Rada. He's on the left-hand side of your screen there versus David Reitbauer.
Ole Rada is playing black-red.
Okay.
David Reitbauer is playing white-blue. And these guys have a lot of throwback cards to like when Ole Rada first started playing. He's playing, he's playing Sarah Angel.
Yeah.
David Reitbauer's playing Sarah Angel. Ole Rada is playing Sengir Vampire and Shivan Dragon. Just so you know.
Keeping it old school here.
Yeah.
So this is Magic 14 team sealed.
Is that a Warden of Evos Isle or
no,
Seacoast?
that's a Seacoast Drake. Yep.
Yeah, less exciting.
The 1/3 flyer.
There you see Academy Raiders.
I like that guy a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm kind of a sucker for looting. While this isn't quite looting, it's pretty close.
Yeah?
And he looks like he's going to be able to get in for 1 damage and 1 rummage per turn for the duration of this game, unless David Reitbauer wants to use a removal spell on it.
He plays Master Diversions and attacks for 1.
Go.
This is a solid start here for David Reitbauer. He's got an evasive threat, though it's only 1 power, and a Master of Diversions, which is going to help keep down any blockers.
You want to take a look at the cards David Reitbauer is working with. I saw a lot of very powerful decks on the floor, and I gotta say this was not necessarily the most powerful among them.
No.
Although you do see Path of Bravery, which is obviously a big game-breaking card.
It absolutely can be, but a little disappointment there. Dawnstrike Paladin, not the 3 double white spell you want to have in that deck.
Right, you'd like to not have to play with Capation Knight and Dawnstrike Paladin if you could. And then I'll give you a look at what the Hall of Famer Ole Rada's got to work with. You see a Quag Sickness and a Cursed Spirit. There's a couple of 20-year anniversary cards.
Yeah.
Sengir Vampire and Shivan Dragon.
Yeah, there you go. Now, he actually rummaged away the Accursed Spirit there. It looks like he's digging for lands. Well, I mean, he needs a land, right? So.
And there goes a Blur Sliver.
He must have drawn that as a... he would have played it pre-combat had he had it in his hand. He also could have wanted to play a 4-drop if he hit a land off of the Rummager. All right. See what Reitbauer has in store for this turn. He still hasn't played his land yet. He's got a pretty clear attack here if he wants that. And then he has to decide what he wants to follow up with.
David Reitbauer, of course, 2009 runner-up at the Magic the Gathering World Championships. Against Andre Coimbra, one of the members of this Austrian team.
I remember watching that tournament.
Yeah, it was a fun tournament.
All right, looks like a 3-drop here for Reitbauer. Whoop. Gonna attack first.
Yep.
Tap down the Blur Sliver and get in there for 3 damage. Now let's see what his follow-up play is. Can hear him sigh there. Really doesn't want to screw up this early part. It looks like he has a 2nd Master of Diversion there.
Yeah.
All right, so that is going to mean that he is really forcing the issue as far as a race goes. He says, look, I'm going to be able to keep any blockers you put up tap down almost indefinitely here.
Yeah, that Death Gaze Cockatrice is a lot less threatening.
Yeah.
But, you also see that he's setting up if he can draw a... get himself to a 5th land, but he's going to Quag Sickness right now.
Yep. He does have 2 swamps, so that's going to take down one of the Master of Diversion. And he's going to attack with both, and he is going to activate the Raider.
Yeah, there goes the Cockatrice.
You can see Rade's hand there. He's got...
Oh, he's thinking about maybe Sengir Vampire or...
Yeah, he's got a couple of solid 5-drops. Also, Shivan Dragon.
I mean, obviously he would love to be able to go Liturgy of Blood into Quag Sickness on 1 turn.
Yes.
But, couldn't afford to let that...
That is kind of the play now.
Yeah, Master of Diversion sit around.
Yeah. He's really trying to decide what he wants to discard here. He has that...
Well, he has so many cards at 5 and 6.
Uh-huh.
but he decides to get rid of the Cockerson. He does find the 5th land. So.
He does indeed. So he's going to start deploying big threats for the rest of this game. The question is, can he stabilize? He's sitting at 16, which is a pretty healthy life total, but there is still a Master of Diversion on the other side of the table. David really would like to put something with, 3 power up or something that can attack.
Well, look at that last card in David Reitbauer's hand.
Oh, wow. Devout Invocation. Big mythic rare from this set.
Time, but just don't mind. It's just...
So we're going to get a Capation Knight.
Yep.
And I mean, that is not what he wants to do here. Capation Knight, not a particularly aggressive card. Not really even a very good card. And,
Which is surprising with such deep pools that...
Yes.
You might end up that way.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Now, it is a creature, so it's going to satisfy that Devout Invocation sometime down the line. But, as his turn 4, turn 5 play, that isn't what he wanted.
He may very well be playing Path of Bravery next turn. And
Sure. He gets a lot better.
Yeah.
The 2/2, that hits a lot better.
You have 4, right? 4.
And Ole's got more 5 drops to work with.
What did he draw?
He's got another Liturgy of Blood.
Jeez. So Ole Roddy taking the control angle here, even though he has a Blur Sliver out there, he's definitely looking to stay alive long enough to resolve Sengir Vampires and Shivan Dragons. He gets in with the Raider.
Come on.
And I don't think he's going to activate it this time.
Go.
So this is where the difference between looting and rummaging comes in. Rummaging says you have to discard first. Ole has no interest in discarding any of those awesome cards in his hand. He's got a Shivan Dragon, a Sengir Vampire, and a Liturgy of Blood still. So
right, let's take a look at the Academy Raider.
Yeah. And that's the big difference. If he had a chance to actually do like the Merfolk looter ability there,
right,
it would be a free
first.
roll. Yeah, he could just, just discard that if it wasn't better.
Man, there was a time when this was templated: discard a card, then draw a card, and then if you didn't have a card to discard.
Yeah.
It sounds like Thomas Holzinger just took his game 1 versus Joachim Auberg on the back table. So just give you an idea of some of the other matches going on here. Joel Larson is playing Mark Mulbach. Joachim Auberg is playing Thomas Holzinger. And coaching from the bench during this, we have Elias Wasfeld coaching for Team Sweden.
Wow.
Pretty good coach.
That's a solid coach.
And Manuel Danninger coaching for the Austrians.
They're saving Elias for the constructed rounds, it seems.
3.
So you see a Reggaeton Firecat.
Yep.
And that is going to get Essence scattered.
Yep.
And again, no, I don't want to discard any of these powerful cards, says Olirade. I like my Liturgy of Blood, I like my Sengir Vampire, and I like my Shivan Dragon.
Now, what do you think about Essence scattering that Firecat there when you have the Capation Knight on the board?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm sure he's going to regret it immediately upon seeing a Sengir Vampire or Shivan Dragon. But
and now he has the
Dawnstrike Paladin.
the full tap out though. And this card's not bad. Don't get me wrong. It will affect this board state. It definitely will pull some of its weight, but it's just not the Sarah Angel level of power that you'd like for your 5 mana here in Team Sealed.
So Ole here can Liturgy of Blood, the Dawnstrike Paladin, and has a land to loot.
You have 3 cards, right?
Or he can play the Shivan Dragon. What do you like?
Well, so he's already seen 1 Essence Scatter from his opponent. He has to figure that that's something that David Reitbauer could have multiple.
Well, I mean, you could have you see people having 4 and 5 of certain commons.
Yeah, you have access to it.
Right, and this is what Ole's asking Joel Larson.
Yeah.
I believe anyway.
I think so
my
too.
Swedish is pretty rusty.
Now, this is one of the unique things about the team format is that you can actually just lean over and ask your teammates, hey, what would you do here? Should I play around Acid Scatter? Should I just get this dragon on the battlefield and start going to town?
Then you see David Reitbauer asking Manuel Daniger what to do, and Manuel Daniger saying, like, I don't know, man. You're the world finalist. what do you want to do?
Ska jag lota då kanske?
Joel Larson dispensing some knowledge here.
Yeah.
I think I like just playing the Sengir Vampire and looting away the land myself. I feel like Sengir Vampire is going to put a lot of pressure on this board state.
Right.
And you can kind of keep the loot train going with the Raider. Plus, you know.
And plus, if he draws a 3-drop, there's also the possibility that he can go Liturgy and Blood something and, you know, Quag Sickness something. Or
there you go. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the Sengir Vampire is going to demand some type of answer. The downside to slamming Shivan Dragon there is if your opponent just pacifies it, well, then that's your best card in your hand. As it stands, the Sengir Vampire probably draws out a pacifism and blocks nearly as well as the Shivan Dragon anyway. And this way he gets to get a little more momentum going through his deck. Now, he is going to need to hit that 6th land drop at some point here in order to play the Dragon, but he's got plenty of plays. Otherwise, we've seen he has a Mark of the Vampire, Liturgy of Blood to accompany it in his hand. Take a look at David Reitbauer here. Surveying the scene. Looks like he's got a Frost Breath in hand.
And yeah, that's what we're going to see right now.
Now he's got to decide what he wants to hit here. That Academy Raider doing serious work here for Ole Rade, really helping him sculpt his hand. And as you can see by his hand right now, it's fantastic. But Reitbauer looks like he feels the need to keep the pressure on, as Ole Rade is only at 10 here.
56, 15.
And he's also going to pump the Capation Knight, so it's 2, 4, 5 damage. No, he didn't pump it. He just played another one.
He just played another.
Oh, that's sad. 2 Capation Knights here. But he does have that Anthem effect in his deck.
He has it in his hand.
Yeah. Now, I see a Mark of the Vampire here in Ole Rade's hand. Not a super exciting card in Team Sealed. A lot of times you just want to have your cards stand on their own. But when you're getting beaten down and you're already at 6 here.
Well, what we're going to see here is kill your guy.
Yeah.
Mark of the Vampire, my Academy Raider. Gain 3 life back.
Yes. So he goes up to 9. Ole Rade declines to discard his Shivan Dragon, especially since now he has the 6 mana. So we know it's coming down next turn in all likelihood. And there's a Sarah Angel for Reitbauer. Now that's the kind of card that he wanted to see when he cast his his other 5-drop. So Reitbauer has to now decide if he can still keep the pressure on and actually make a race out of this, even though he's going to be losing 3 life to that Raider every turn.
The question is, you know, does Path of Bravery give him enough of a swing? You know, +1/+1 to my guys.
Yeah, I mean, not right now, right?
You know, gain life equal to the number of attacking creatures.
So the problem here is that he can play it and gain 3 life, which will put him back up to 15, which is good. But he's going to have a hard time with the current board state getting that life total back above 20, which is what he needs to do to get the Anthem effect going. And that's mainly just because that Raider is unblockable. It's just going to sit there and keep hitting him over and over again. All right, so here's 3 triggers. David Reitbauer jumps back up to 15.
I have no blocks.
And there are no blocks. He's going to pump one of the Knights, so it's 4 total damage, dropping Ole Rade down to 5.
I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm at 5.
Right. So he's trying to put enough
55.
pressure on Ole that Ole maybe can't afford to attack with more than the Raiders next turn.
Yep. But Ole is at full capacity now. He gets to untap with his whole team here. Any lands that he draws from here on out are going to be cashed in thanks to that Academy Raider. He draws a Nightwing Shade, so yet another 5-drop. Pretty heavy on the 5-drops for Ole, but he was able to hit his land drop since that Raider, and now he's deployed one every turn for quite a while now. I mean, he used up
deployed one or looted one away when he didn't, you know, when he didn't need it immediately.
Right.
Remember, he could have played that 6 land and slammed a Shivan Dragon down, and instead chose to, you know, play it slightly differently.
That's right.
Chose to cycle his swamp instead.
Yeah. Sure. Take 9.
Yep.
So I gain 3 to 8, and you go to 6.
All right, 9 damage coming to David Reitbauer. Is going to drop him down to 6. Ole Rade jumps back up to 8 thanks to the Mark of the Vampire.
Yeah.
And Shivan Dragon hits the battlefield. The original bomb.
It was one of the first rares I ever opened when I bought my first starter deck.
Wow.
It was so exciting. You know, 19 years ago now.
Yeah. Shivan Dragon, he was the guy.
Time is left.
All right, so Reitbauer's now recording
Seeing the writing
some
on the
of
wall,
stuff.
so he's
Yeah.
writing down what's in the graveyard.
Yeah, this is usually a good sign if you're sitting in Ole Rade's seat, as the game's not over yet.
Oh, not at all. He's going to play a Sarah Angel
39.
here.
Interestingly, though, Path of Bravery dictates that he really needs to keep attacking if he wants to keep padding his life total, even though he's going to need to start blocking at some point here. I mean, that Shivan Dragon's going to come in and do quite a bit. Thankfully, the Sarah Angel plus the Seacoast Drake can double block, and they'll trade.
Right. And you see, I mean, Devout Invocation has been, you know, a mulligan for Reitbauer.
Yeah, I mean,
this whole match.
Look,
right?
it's a 7-drop. I
Yeah.
mean, you're taking on some risk by running 7-drops. Now, this one's probably worth it. You know, if he hits his next land drop and has even 3 creatures, he's going to have, you know, a huge board state. But you are taking on some risk, and he's paying for it here by feeling the pressure from Ole Rade. No attacks here for Reitbauer, sitting at 6.
Yeah, no way he can afford to.
No.
You're at 6, right? Yep.
Another scary omen when your opponent says, "What's your life total?" Because I think I can make that 0. Yeah, this is just an awful situation here for Reitbauer. He's going to need to chump block multiple flyers here. He's not going to be able to double block the Shivan Dragon thanks to the Sengir Vampire.
Right.
Yep, take 3. I gain 3. So 11 to 3, and let me think about the looting. Yeah, I'll discard.
Let me think about it. Get out of here.
Thought about it.
One card.
Now, Ole decides to play the Nightwing Shade out here. Curious about that one. I guess he figures that if his opponent had Planar Cleansing, he would have already played it last turn. Still a little bit risky. Ooh, that's a Johnny. Unfortunately, I don't think any of Johnny's abilities are going to help out
No,
here.
they don't.
And he doesn't want to show Ole that he has it, so he's just going to scoop up. So, Ole Rade takes the first game from the World Magic Cup against David Reitbauer.
Do
we have those in here? I don't see them in here. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't see it right away.
So you see these guys sideboarding.
Yep, they're going to hit up the old sideboard. Now, this is an interesting part. When you play normal sealed, every card you don't play is your sideboard. But here, it's a strategic decision where you place the cards that are left over from the decks in whose pool.
So we have one result in this match. So far, Thomas Holzinger, the national champion, has defeated Joachim Aberg on the back table. So it is 1-0 to Austria. But yeah, so what's interesting about these card pools, again, is you're so deep in your 2 colors. You have so many cards. It's not like the Return to Ravnica Team Sealed, which we're going to see tomorrow, which is a lot more... I use the term Jackson Pollocky when you lay out your card pool.
Like
yeah, just splashes of color everywhere. I mean, this is like 5 lines of cards.
Yes.
And some artifacts and some other things, but you know, it's like you have 5 colors. And so you end up, if you're a two-color deck, or you have a lot of extra cards in your sideboard. So if you're looking at Ole's deck, like anything leap out there for you that he's not playing main deck?
Just one land drop, one turn too much. I mean, you also missed
Like,
the
do you
land
like?
drop,
So here's a card that was very controversial on the floor during deck building. Congregate.
Not a fan.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just feel like, so you're going to gain a lot of life.
Right.
If that's what you need to do, it will accomplish that job. I just can't imagine that many scenarios where that's really what you
How
want to
about
do.
a situation where you have Path of Bravery on the table?
Yeah, hey.
And now that suddenly becomes a combat trick.
Yeah, that would be one of the reasons that I would put in the check marks towards a little bit
Right.
better here.
Right.
You give me an Angelica Chord in my deck. Now we're talking about potentially making a 4/4 Angel as well as gaining huge amount of life.
Interestingly, Angelica Chord is in David Reitbauer's sideboard, not playing it, despite the Path of Bravery.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, he...
Attack with 4 guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a combo. It really is.
Make a 4/4 Angel.
And I mean, that would help explain, why you would run like the Capation Knights at the 2-drop slot just to get critical mass of creatures out there. But he's not doing it.
Not running that.
Yeah. He's running 2 Dawnstrike Paladin, 2 Capation Knight. It's really interesting. They must have just not had a super deep color pool for white here. I saw some of the people that had laid out their cards too. One of the teams had them laid out. You know how normally when you sit at a table with 4 people, there's 2 people facing each other, and so you'll kind of. They decided they wanted to put them in the middle, going long ways. So there was 5 huge, long trails of each color of card, and they were trying to turn their head sideways to look at them.
I saw Jelger Vigeshma and the Dutch team do that last year at the World Magic Cup, and it made a lot of sense.
You can actually
see
it all at
take
once.
Everything in,
Yeah, and also it's hard to look at cards when they're upside down, so that way everybody has the same opportunity to look.
I think it hardly depends on the deck you play. It's like there are some archetypes that really want to draw the card.
Yeah, if you play all walls and removals.
Probably the mono black deck
Maybe Mind
always
Rocks
wants to draw first.
Here are the players discussing some of their early takes on the format.
Yeah, looking at Ole Rade, there you see David Reitbauer. A couple of guys with some top 8 Pro Tour experience. Ole, of course, more than most. He's got 5 Pro Tour top 8s. Hall of Famer, first ballot.
Way back in the day.
Oh, way back in the day. Yeah, he won the 3rd Pro Tour. He was still a teenager. He joked that he really wanted the green spider deck in this card pool, but they wouldn't give it to him. And,
There's a lot of spiders in this set.
He won a Pro Tour during Ice Age Block Constructed with giant trapdoor spider.
Did he really?
Yeah.
We were thinking about going by train,
was a different
but it's
world.
like 12 hours, so you can also easily go to a GP in the US at the same time.
Talking about the rigors of travel. All right, players are examining their opening hands here for game 2.
I'm fine.
I see
Ole
lands and
Rade up a
spells.
game.
Yeah.
Lands and spells, that's a good thing. Ooh, there's a spell.
Yeah. And a Johnny Color Pride, that may be why you see the Capation Knights also. That idea of getting something down early that he can
that's true.
build up.
And creatures with first strike are particularly good with +1/+1 counters on them as well. As is this.
Then a Sentinel Sliver.
He's going to give vigilance to all other slivers, or all of his other slivers, including that one. There it is, a Johnny Cough of the Pride, turn 3 with a 2-drop out. Put a counter on it, attack you for 3. So this is a fantastic start for David Reitbauer here. Much different than the last game. Ole Rade, 2 lands on the board, nothing going on yet. We saw how slow Ole's deck could possibly be. I mean, he had a lot of 5s and 6s. Now, he might have just drawn most of them there, but he had a lot of heavy mana curve stuff.
Yeah, his deck bulged at 5.
I mean, good stuff.
But here we see Quag Sickness just undoes that.
Yeah, now here's the key turn here for David Reitbauer. If he can play another creature and keep the momentum going forward with a Johnny putting counters on stuff. Now, notably, a Johnny was templated such that you can still plus him even if there's no creature. Right. But still, getting a +1/+1 counter on whatever he plays here is going to be huge. I think he's got a Warden of Evos Isle pulled aside, and there's also a Master of Diversion. If he plays a Master of Diversion, it really forces Ole to have a removal spell for it. But the Warden, which is what he plays here, helps set up future turns better and is evasive on its own.
I've never seen someone get 20 cats.
I have not either. I've seen lots of cats, but not the full amount. Congregate. Ultimate Johnny.
And there's the hardest working Academy Raiders in the game.
Yeah, now that is going to be able to pressure a Johnny Color of the Pride and keep it in check, though. It's not going to be able to... He's going to fall behind very, very quickly. Also, I believe that Academy Raider will only trigger if it hits a player.
There we go. And time ebb on the Academy Raider.
Wow, huge tempo play. Take 4 in the air. Still stuck on 3 lands, though, is David Reitbauer, but his board position is dominating.
Let's show you what he is looking to work with. He's got a Master Diversion, a Serra Angel, a Celestial Flare, and an Essence Scatter. So he's able to take a pretty commanding position in this game.
The Johnny Color of the Pride up to 8 loyalty.
Yeah, and he's just going to make 20 tokens next turn. He Celestial Flares the Academy Raider. It won't even ting down the Johnny. And he's got Essence Scatter for whatever comes next.
Wow. What a great position for David Reitbauer. He's looking to equalize here after losing game 1 to Ole Rade and his slew of 5 and 6 drops.
Attack Johnny. Attack Johnny.
And there it is, Celestial Flare. Target player sacrifices an attacking creature. Down it goes.
Sounds like Joel Larson is up a game on Mark Mulbeck on the other table.
Okay.
Middle table.
All right, Ole deciding what he wants to play for the turn. He's got 6 mana available.
I mean, can he do anything about 20 cats? I mean, he's going to face 20 cats next turn.
In this set?
Oh, he's going to corrupt you. Yes.
For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
4, 5.
Yep.
And then redirected at the...
David Reitbauer jokingly says, "Are you sure?"
You're going to 13 again, yeah?
Yeah.
Redirects it at a Johnny.
Yeah, I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't ultimate a Johnny there.
Yeah.
There's no Pyroclasm in the set.
I take
7.
And yeah, next turn he's just going to double strike.
Yeah, you can just kill him.
Right, and then gets to pay 4 mana for a Serra Angel.
Yes, 4 mana. We note that here. David Reitbauer has only played 4 lands this game. Of course, that means the rest of the cards in his hand have been spells, and he's been deploying 1 to 2 per turn indefinitely here. And he has put a ton of pressure, and as Ole Rade sums it up, well, that wasn't even close. Wow, so David Reitbauer equalizes. We're actually going to hold this one and move over to the Joel Larson match.
Yeah.
You can see 1 table down, so we can see what they're up to over there, and then we'll come back and get the final between Ole Rade and David Reitbauer.
So we're going to look at Joel Larson versus Mark Mulbeck. So here's Joel's deck.
I don't know if you noticed, but Mark, he's wearing lederhosen. I'm not kidding. So awesome. We see a lot of great, kind of festivity type stuff out there. Lots of regional garb, sometimes in the forms of jerseys for local teams or national teams, that kind of stuff.
Kilts.
Yeah, and you see that leather strap? Also, he's got the beer jersey there too, so he's in full Austria mode here.
So Mark is playing. You know what Mark is playing? Mark is playing the Bog Brew Witch deck. He has got the full package.
Yeah,
we've
saw
got
this
a
when we
Bog
were
Brew
out there.
Witch. We've got a bubbling cauldron, and we've got 2 festering newts.
Does he have 2 or 3?
2.
Okay. Wow.
Also 2 Mark of the Vampires. He is mono black. And he's going up against Joel Larson, and Joel is playing blue-white. And, by the way, is playing Congregate.
We'll see how good it is.
Offsets that drain life effect of the Bubbling Cauldron Festering Newt.
It does.
Okay.
All right, so Joel Larson just checking with Ole to see if he wanted to keep. He does. His opponent does not.
Mulliganing to Bog Brew Witch, clearly.
Yeah. You see Thomas Holtzinger there on the far left in the Hard Rock shirt.
Yeah.
Top-aided Pro Tour Avison Restored.
He is the national champion. And Manuel Daniger, the winner of a WMCQ, sitting in the coach's seat. You know, I was watching Joel build this deck. It seemed rather controlling. You can't see my air quotes.
Yeah, this is deeply controlling. This is built by somebody who might have control issues. Wow.
And we're underway.
I like this deck. Yeah, the only card I don't like in this deck is the Congregate. But he does have ways to get it back, and if the game goes long, he looks to have some nice finishers, so I can see some of his reasoning there.
Yeah, he gained 24 life off that Congregate last game, buddy.
I'm still not impressed. Now I'm impressed, though. Scroll Thief on turn 3 here for Joel Larson, and it draws an immediate Doom
Yeah,
Blade.
that card is no joke. We've really seen it be dominant in this format.
Rod of Ruin is the follow-up for Mark Milbuck.
I love this, partying like it's 1994.
No kidding. Charging Griffin for Joel Larson, and boom, these guys are playing at breakneck speed. I think that was a Sengir Vampire.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And there's a pacifism for the Vampire. Get in for 3.
Get in for 3 damage, so Mark is going to drop down to 17. And that Rod of Ruin really not doing much on this board currently. Rod of Ruin, not a particularly great Magic card, but it can take out some pesky threats. He must have been worried about him. Speaking of pesky threats, there's a Festering Newt. Now, not going to do a whole lot currently, but he could combo off here at any moment.
So you see that Molbeck is down to just a couple of swamps in hand. Uses 3 of his extra mana there to activate Rod of Ruin. Rod of Ruin's pretty expensive.
It's very, very expensive.
I had forgotten. I played with it at the pre-release and quickly remembered.
Yeah.
And here you get a look at some of the control elements in Joel Larson's hand.
Wow. Double Essence Scatter, Wall of Frost Opportunity. I'm telling you. All right, this is going to be a Death Gaze Cockatrice, but it's likely to draw an Essence Scatter since Joel does have 2, and it will trade off for the Charging Griffin. He doesn't want to... The Griffin is his pressure right now, and he wants to keep that going. That was a Devout Invocation, I believe, off the top for Larson. He doesn't have quite enough mana to do it, and plus he's only got the 1 creature, but man, there are times when you're just going to pay the 7 to make a 4/4 Angel. We'll see if this game ends up being one of those, but I'm sure Larson would prefer to draw a couple of smaller creatures. He's going to end step Opportunity here, and this is just a huge blowout.
It's such a punch in the stomach.
Oh, man, there's few better feelings in Magic than doing this. And by the way, you get your draw step when you untap, too. It's just, you keep going back for more. Here he is. And there's another opportunity. This feels like constructed a little bit. Now, he's got the 7 mana. He's going to attack in there for 3. That's going to drop Mark
But he's sitting
down
on
to 8.
Essence Scatter, Cancel,
Yeah, he's just
and a
got to
Pacifism.
sit. Yeah, the one thing that could make him do the Devout Invocation is if it were a 1-turn clock, but it's not. So there's not a lot of incentive for him to do that. So he's just going to ship the turn back after playing a Wall of Frost. All right, he's got a Vampire Warlord off the top for Mark Mulbeck, but...
Yeah, followed by 2 with 2 swamps remaining. That's going to get countered.
It is, because it's a sacrifice outlet. That means that the Festering Newt can get sacked and potentially team up with something else to take down the Charging Griffin. But
yeah, well, the Rod of Ruin, for example.
There you go, and exactly. And Joel Larson has none of it. He leaves up cancel mana after casting a Messenger Drake.
How do you like Messenger Drake?
Love it, love it. Play a lot of those. All right, a couple of swamps out of the mono black deck for Mark, and it looks like the writing's on the wall here. He's still gonna
look at this hand.
Yeah, man. Attack you for 6. It's lethal damage. And that's it. Joel Larson takes down his match 2-0 versus Mark Mulbeck. We're going to head back over to Ole Roddick versus David Wright.
Yeah, this is going to be the deciding match.
And this will be the decider. You see a smile there from Joel.
He's like, well, yeah, well, you smile too after you draw 4 cards and
man.
counter 3 spells or 2 spells.
And the last one that I draw is another opportunity. And
Yeah. He classily does not run the Stillhead all these here. Right? Doesn't show him the opportunity to cancel out the pacifism still in his hand.
that's right.
We'll do it for him.
It's just one of the services Brian David Marshall provides the Magic community.
Can we start, says Ole? Yes, you can.
Absolutely. And here we go. A swamp and a plains kick things off. We're getting our overhead cam set up for you guys. That's why we have it on this angle for the moment.
I like this shot. I like seeing the team like that.
I do too. And you can see there's a sentinel sliver there.
Same start.
Hope so.
Ole Roddy says, uh-oh, same start. And David Reitbauer says, I hope so.
There is a Xanthid Necromancer.
All right. So
Zathrid.
Yep,
Sorry.
Zathrid. Yep, a new rare from the set. Now, is there an Ajani
No,
in
it's
the
blue,
future?
so.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Uh-oh.
All right, steel form sliver
So that's a 2/3 sliver now he's attacking with.
with vigilance. Goes nicely past
Living the dream.
Yeah, the 2/3 sliver starts pretty good now.
The sliver dream 2/3.
Yeah, these aren't
vigilant
the
attackers.
ideal slivers for that. I think you'd rather just have predatory and then just another predatory. but still, these are okay. And you know, he does have 2 vigilant slivers that are going to be able to attack past a creature that's already there. Slivers making a triumphant comeback here in M14. They are a fan favorite. And as we look back on 20 years of Magic, they're certainly one of the things that makes it special. All right, we have reverted to native languages here to at least try to prevent any.
Yeah. And they're actually speaking like, you know, some dialect just in case.
Yeah. All right, so they say land go. And they've got Chandra's Outrage mana up here. What that means is that if David gets a little greedy and goes for an attack here into 4 untapped mana, they can take down Steelform Sliver and then make a profitable trade for the other sliver.
Right.
I doubt that David Reitbauer is going to walk into that, given that Ole has all that, you know, has 4 cards in hand and 4 mana up, but it's possible.
It would end up being a 2-for-1 because he would be left with a 2/2.
Yeah. Now, I see that there's also a time ebb here, though, for David.
Which I think he's clearly going to use.
That makes the chance of a... all right, Thomas Holtzinger's going to take the immediate coach side seat here. That makes the risk a lot lower. If he time ebbs here, gets Zathrid Necromancer off the table...
He's got a couple of different options, too. I mean, he also has Frost Breath.
Okay, yeah. Any way that he gets the blocker out of the way, it makes it so that if Ole Rade is using his Chandra's Outrage on one of his random 2- and 3-drop slivers, I think that's pretty acceptable for him. Now, trading it off, though, for the Zathrid Necromancer is not, so he would have to do this pre-combat. All right, he's just going to attack with the 2/3. I like that attack a lot.
Yeah.
And
Right, says if you remove my 2/3, well, all right, then you remove my 2/3.
right, and remember, we're talking about some good stuff. There's a Liturgy of Blood in hand for Ole, but this Chandra's Outrage is the only card he can cast right now. That's a premium removal spell. Ole didn't have any plays anyway this turn, though. It's either Chandra's Outrage or nothing. And there's a Warden of Evo, so I wouldn't be surprised if that ate a Chandra's Outrage here. Certainly doesn't want to start taking damage from that or letting David Reitbauer get a mana advantage.
And here it comes. Yep.
Yeah. Warden down. Reitbauer's going to drop to 18.
And Ole, he gets the land he wants here.
Yep. That was a key land drop for him. It's going to allow him to play a Sendgear Vampire, which is probably just going to get time ebbed here, but still it's a solid follow-up play. He's going to draw it again and get to replay
Right,
it.
and you get to Frost Breath, you know, you get the Time Ebb here, and then Frost Breath next turn.
Yeah, I think that it might actually be better here, though, for David. He did draw a land. He can play a Sarah Angel, then go for Time Ebb, Frost Breath, and just put in huge chunks of damage if it lives. We happen to know, though, that Ole's got Liturgy of Blood in hand, and if David goes for Sarah Angel here, it's going to get instantly liturgied.
Is it worse? It's in het niks. Dus we gaan even testen, hoor.
All right, they are going to go for the Time Ebb here, though.
Time Ebb, and then play a Capacious Knight.
Sure.
You know, no reason not to attack with both here.
Yeah, now we're attacking with 2/2/3 with Vigilance into a 2/2.
Take it.
Take the 4 damage. Ole Rade drops down to 12.
All right, play Capacious Knight.
Vi kanske ska kämpa där. Ja, men inte man har den här som tappat 2.
Okay, replay the...
Ja, blir den i alla fall.
Yep.
So he blanks one of his draw steps, but Ole just makes the same exact play. Wow, there's a Devout Invocation now. He's a few mana away from that, but this is the type of board state where that starts to get a lot better.
We haven't really come close to seeing that card be able to be cast
No,
yet in two different
th
matches.
this sealed format is so much faster. All right, so no Sarah Angel here. They're going right in for the kill here, and the reason for that is it's a 2-turn clock. It forces Ole Rade to do something. If that something happens to be playing Liturgy of Blood on one of these random 2- and 3-mana creatures, David Reitbauer can slam Sarah Angel the next turn and feel pretty confident that he's run Ole Rade out of lands, or excuse me, out of removal spells.
We're going to see a Corrupt on the 2/3.
All right, so Corrupt.
For 4.
Now Corrupt matters big here because that clock is no longer available on 2 levels. All right, more choices here for David Reitbauer as he draws Master of Diversion, so he can cast that instead. He still has Sarah Angel in his hand. It's not often that a player has 5 mana and has a Sarah Angel in hand for like 3 turns in a row, but they're going for the tempo plays and really going for the throat here as they need to pick up this win to win the match. This is the first one of the World Magic Cup here from Amsterdam, and I mean, getting off to that 1-0 start is huge. All right, 3 damage, no pumps, and there she is. Sarah Angel appears.
2 cards. 2 cards.
And Reitbauer's in a commanding board position, but Ole's in great shape here.
Ska han falla då?
Well, they can't both be true.
Yeah.
All right, so here's
Well, I
Liturgy
said
of Blood.
Reitbauer looks like he's got commanding board position, but Ole Rade is going to be able to Liturgy of Blood that
Yes.
Sarah Angel.
And now the Sengir Vampire is going to be able to hold down the fort, but
2 cards.
tick-tock.
Tick-tock,
Because there's
2
going to
lands,
be
yeah.
2 more lands away, and at least as the board will sit at that. So assuming that the Sarah Angel goes down here, then he can get 2 4/4 Flying Angels from it.
Vad tycker du? Vi kanske
So
kan
that, I guess Master Diversion is also going to be a
Yes,
problem.
that's right. All right, Liturgy of Blood, take out Sarah Angel. 3 mana.
But at 7, he does not feel like he can attack.
Ska inte anfalla alltså.
He still has essentially a free chump block in store as well with that Zathrid Necromancer that he can use at any time to buy himself a little bit more time. We've seen that Ole has a ton of removal in his deck, so it's entirely possible that he just draws a couple of removal spells and just sort of grinds David Reitbauer's board position into dust.
Jag måste ju bara anfalla någon liksom.
Any of the Austrians are like, I should have paid more attention in Swedish class.
Jag lever den till oavsett. Någonstans. Jag tycker om man har 2 spel så kanske det är bättre hemma. Ja, drar en plane så kan jag inte bocka heller.
So right now they're talking about whether or not
Jo.
Ole can afford to get an attack in. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, I can.
Wow.
14.
So I guess he figures if David just attacks with the Capacious Knight, he can just block. All right, there's one of the lands that he needs.
So now we're just on talk. We've ticked.
Yes. So he can go land master diversions. He can get in for 1. He can get in for 2 damage. If he wants with the Capation Knight, assuming that Ole doesn't block. If he does, then sure, pump it once and trade it off and eat half of it.
Oh.
Yeah, so Ole is going to block this time. That's going to prompt 2 mana use here from David Reitbauer. He doesn't matter, though. Yeah, they're going to get a counter there. He's just making sure that
the
trigger's
his
noted.
trigger,
yeah. Got to do it. This is high-level play.
2 minute hits.
Okay, and here comes Master of Diversion for David Reitbauer. So David asserting his board position and also setting up a potentially huge Devout Invocation next turn if he's able to draw a land. I believe that Ole just has a couple of swamps in hand. No, that's a Corrupt.
Sure.
No, that's a Corpse Hauler.
A Corpse Hauler, okay. Now, Corpse Hauler can get back.
And there's the 7th land.
There it is. He slams it on the table, taps all 3 of his creatures, and just looks at his opponent. Ole says, hold on a second.
It's a part of the casting? Or is it a part of the resolution?
Pardon?
Is that a part of the resolution or part of the casting?
Part of the resolution.
It's like, it's not part of the casting cost.
But I
it's
can
like,
do something in response, right?
yeah, okay. It's like, I want to cast this one.
Yeah.
That's so hasty.
Ole just keeping him in check.
Ole bluffing with a swamp here.
Yeah, I mean, he is doing things correctly. And there's 3 4/4 Flying Angel tokens. David Reitbauer could not slam that card on the table any quicker as he's setting up for a potential win next turn.
Yeah.
Academy Raiders is not going to do it.
That's not the one. And that's it. He shows him his hands. Ole Rade loses to David Reitbauer here as Austria defeats
Sweden
here.
2 matches to 1.
2 matches to 1.
Yeah.
It's all right. I was just, I know I had nothing, but it's fun to see your face.
Hey guys, welcome back to the booth. Marshall Sutcliffe here with Brian David Marshall. So this is what we're going to be seeing for this first half of the day. Team sealed. You can see the deck's range and power quite a bit. We saw some bombs played. We saw some less than amazing cards. We saw mono black from one of the players on Austria's side of the table.
Right.
You know, that's something that you don't normally see in a draft or a sealed format.
Saw Congregate, a card you absolutely abhor.
I hate that card. I mean, hate's a strong word, but it doesn't make my 23 very often.
But you use it freely when discussing Congregate.
Yes, I do. But yeah, so we're going to be seeing a lot of this throughout the course of the day. This is the World Magic Cup. This is awesome. I don't know, walking up and down the aisles, it's really interesting, the contrast. You know, we had the World Championship here for the last couple of days. We're on a new tournament. It's a new day. And moving into it, it feels completely different.
I got to tell you, it was super exciting walking to the room this morning and having this place be filled with Magic players. Like, all right.
Yeah. You know, we noted this last year at the World Championship. It's very quiet. You know, it's intense. It's a quiet, intense. It has this electricity to it.
You know where else it's quiet and intense and electric?
At the news desk.
It is.
Yeah, so why don't we send it over there to Rich at the news desk. We'll be back for the next round here. After that, we'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the news desk. 2 of us here, me looking smart, guy from the beach sitting beside me. It's Ben Stark, Hall of Fame elect. Ben, great to have you with us.
Great to be with you, Rich.
So first of all, let's do a little bit of housekeeping from a previous 2 days. Great job, congratulations, Hall of Fame, top 4 of the world champs, and now you get to sit here and talk to all the people at home. Does life get any better?
Not really, no. These are the perks, you know, top 4, and now I have 2 days off to relax, hang out with you guys, hang out with you.
Yeah, we're going to see you a bunch on Sunday because one thing is certain, you against Shahar Shenhar is not a semi-final that is going to be 3-0 in 20 minutes.
No, we're playing the mirror, very similar decks, red, blue, white control, a matchup where neither of us even know if it's better to play first or draw first because the decks are so grindy and the games go so long.
Okay, that's on Sunday. Sitting alongside Ben on Sunday, apart from Shahar Shenhar, Josh Adder-Layton and Reed Duke, will be 8 teams. How do they get there? Well, that is the story of the next 2 days. Let me just take you through some of the results that have come through in round one. Team USA, you are underway with a win. Josh Adder-Layton, he's back on Sunday already, trying to do the double. Dobrin Paskov's Bulgaria have lost out there. Austria against Sweden, you know Austria won 2-1. I can tell you that Switzerland have defeated Japan by 2-1. That's Andy Gantz's team up against Yuya Watanabe and friends. Big match, France against Scotland, both amongst the favourites to top 16. You see our selected scoreboard there. France were the victors 2-0. They have a tremendous team. Ralph Levy, Timothy Simoneau, Jan Guthman amongst those, and Stefan Subrier rounding out the squad. But I think Scotland will bounce back from that and do very nicely, thank you. I can tell you that Denmark, who I think quietly may do very well, they have lost to Singapore. Indonesia 2-1 over the Slovak Republic. That's even Flock's team. They have lost their opening round. New Zealand are winners over Spain. Walker McMurdo and co from near to down under, as it were. Great to see the Australians here. They're all in green and gold, and they are winners 2-1 over Slovenia. Battle of South America, Colombia 2-0 winners over Uruguay. Hats for Colombians, shirt and tie for the Uruguayans. It's Colombia who win that one. Macedonia are winners over the Netherlands. Netherlands don't necessarily have a great team this year, but we'll try and get them on camera for you sometime today. Hopefully they can do well. Lots of history, of course, for the Netherlands. Just a couple more to bring you. Norway defeat Canada 2-0. John Stern and Frutko go to defeat against Andreas Nordahl's led Norwegian team. And finally, Brazil, Willie Adel, Allison Abe, they are victors 2-0 over Northern Ireland. Still a bunch of matches to come in round one. But what we're going to settle in for now is to pick one of the great limited brains, find out what's going on. Because, Ben, dearie me, Team Sealed, it's so complicated.
And so fun.
Yeah, and so fun, for sure. So, first question, long before the 12 packs get opened, these teams, they've been testing. What are the conversations they're having about, if you like, the mechanics of what they physically do to begin with 12 packs?
Sure. I mean, different players have different strengths and weaknesses. For example, on my team, usually with Shuhei Nakamura and Martin Yuza, we all have very different styles. Martin loves an aggro deck, Shuhei loves a control deck, and I actually prefer mid-range decks generally. So what we'll normally do is talk about what the common archetypes are going to be, and we'll try and each person will look to build the decks in their strength. Each person will generally, when we open our packs and we see, or even before we open our packs, when we were preparing to play, we were talking about like, okay, you know, the most common aggro deck is going to be white-green in this format.
Right.
Martin, what do you think is good in white-green? Which commons should we look for to give over to you to build the white-green deck?
Right. Okay. All right, so you're kind of almost, the other two are scouting cards for the third deck, if you like, knowing roughly what you want that deck to be.
Because you want everybody to always play to their strengths. So, like, you know your best aggressive mind who is most familiar with aggro decks is going to be able to pick and choose the best aggro deck to build and the best cards to go into it. Whereas, you know, your more controlling mind, the player who always plays control decks in all the limited formats and where possible and constructed, he's going to know what cards are going to make a better control deck and which cards are going to go into that.
So instinctively, Martin User is going to know how many active treasons he wants in his deck, whereas Shuhei will look at a negate and an essence scatter and a dissipate and go, yeah, that, but not that.
Right.
And you're just naturally going to evaluate the cards better within your strength.
And naturally, if you have I mean, sometimes it's a little different in the World Cup because even though everybody here definitely knows how to play Magic, sometimes you have some of the strongest players in the world as the captain, kind of leading the way and coaching the other players. When you have a team where all the players are roughly even in skill, like the pro teams, or like you'll usually find when friends go to a Team GP, then you're going to want to always trust each other to their strengths, you know?
Okay. So let's start looking specifically at M14 and some of the major archetypes we could expect to see. And I don't think it takes a lot to read a couple of cards and say swamps are going to matter. Let's take a look at some mono black cards.
Yeah, well, the first thing I saw almost every team do out there was look at building a mono green. Walk over there?
No, stay here. It's all right. Yep, okay. So you've got...
So the first thing I saw almost every team do out there was build a mono green or a mono black. The reason being, there are some very powerful mono black cards in Corrupt and Quag Sickness. and some very powerful mono green cards.
Let's take a look at the mono green cards then. Corrupt, we understand, and Quag Sickness, they both require lots of swamps. What about the green cards? Let's take a look. You've picked out 3 for us here.
Yeah, and these are the type of cards that, you know, if you're only playing 9 forests or 8 forests, you know, the Mystic's not going to be that great. If you're playing 10, 11, and you can play it turn 1 every turn, it's awesome, just like the Tusker. And then Howl of the Night Pack, obviously, being mono green is huge. You're going to make 6, 7 2/2s when you play it, and that's an incredible Magic card. To be able to put, let's say, 14 power and toughness on the table for 7 mana, that's just going to win the game almost every time. And the difference between these cards and decks and other colors that might even seem like they make a nice base color, like the red, for example, is you get rewarded for every single swamp and forest in your deck.
Right,
Normally
understood.
speaking, in Limited, if you have 12, let's say, forests or 12 swamps, that's going to be enough to cast everything you want when you want to. But swamps 13 through 17 are going to allow you to corrupt for a lot of extra damage, are going to allow you to make a lot of extra 2/2s off the Howl of the Night Pack.
Okay.
So these decks generally want to stay mono unless they get a synergy bonus. Unless a card...
He said the magic word. Synergy, I used to think, was the energy you got for doing bad things, but apparently not. What is synergy, Ben Stark?
Well, synergy generally is going to be when cards make each other better. If you look at Blood Baron and Active Treason, on their own, they're fine cards. I've played Active Treason in decks without Blood Barons. I've played Blood Barons in decks without Active Treasons. But when you play them together, they both get much better. And the reason this is especially important in Team Sealed, but not nearly as important in like Booster Draft, is in Team Sealed, you can put cards into one of 3 decks. So let's say you have a mono black deck, or almost mono black in this case, and you have some red green deck. Well, you want to stay mono black for your Corrupt and Quag Sicknesses, and so if you have a card like Shivan Dragon or Chandra's Outrage, you'll just go and put that in your red-green deck, and it will still add its value to your team and help you guys win. But if you have a card like Active Treason, that's not going to be nearly as good in your red-green deck as it's going to be in your mono black deck, because your Blood Barons are going to make your Active Treason so much better.
Yeah, and just to spell that out in really straightforward terms, because I know some of you are reading the cards for the first time, you steal the guy with the Active Treason, you then attack with it, hopefully, and then after that, you sacrifice it to the Blood Baron. And at that point, when the Act of Treason finishes and it says end a turn, it sort of goes back to your opponent. Well, no, it doesn't. It's already in their graveyard. So we would call that a sacrifice outlet.
Yesterday, I actually Active Treason someone's Messenger Drake.
The 3/3 flyer.
Attacked their Jace with it, killing it.
Right.
And then sacrificed it to one of my sacrifice outlets. I believe it was Vampire Outlord, not Blood Baron. Killing it and drawing a card.
That's outrageous.
That's synergy.
That's value.
That's value. That's a blowout.
Right there. Okay. Now, some cards are very straightforward. We've already talked about how the black cards, you want ideally to stick them together because they get powered out, that Howl of the Night Pack that Ben talked about. But there are some colors, Ben, that are much harder to deal with. Let's talk a little bit about blue.
Right. Well, blue, which I think is largely the best color in M14 and certainly the deepest at common, is kind of the opposite of black and green. There are no double blue 2-drops. There are no cards that do things for the number of islands you have out. So what you want to do with the blue generally is going to be to split it in half.
Right.
The reason for this is because 3 of the good blue commons that you see here, Time Ebb, Disperse, and Train Condor, while fine in any deck, are especially good in aggressive decks.
Why?
Because they're tempo-ish cards. Train Condor doesn't block very well, but it's cheap, and it's going to make it tough on your opponent to block because it's flying and it's giving something else flying. Time Ebb and Disperse are great cards if you're pressuring the opponent and bouncing their creature back to their hand or on top of their library, but not so great if you're not really playing creatures and your opponent plays one and you just bounce it. Those aren't cards that are really good in control decks, but they're excellent cards in a tempo deck or a beatdown deck.
Okay.
Whereas the next 3 blue cards.
All right, let's move to the next set of cards, and these look very, very different.
Right. These 3 cards all generate you advantage. Essence Scatter for only 2 mana can counter a Sarah Angel, a Shivan Dragon, something extremely powerful. Divination and Archomancer are just blatant direct card advantage. I mean, when you Divination, you are up a card, period. When you Archomancer back a spell, maybe you Archomancer back a Divination, and then you've got Archomancer and you're up a card or 2 from the Divination. Maybe you Archomancer back a removal spell, an Essence Scatter, what have you, and then when you use it again, you are up a card. So these are generally the types of things that control decks are looking for. Decks that are not really, you see none of these cards really pressure the opponent or really help you reduce their life total from 20 to 0. These are the cards that generate card advantage. If you're looking to make the game go long and keep control of the game, these are the cards you want. So these cards pair pair well with a lot of the black spot removal and red spot removal. They pair well with other walls. These cards go well on a control deck. They're almost the exact opposite of the previous good 3 blue commons we looked at.
Okay. There are a couple of color pairs that often in Magic, just by the nature of the color pairing rather than the card specifically, tend not to have as obvious a plan as some of the others. I think of blue-green and maybe green-white. And potentially, those are color pairs where you really need a plan in order to make sure you're not just sitting there with a bunch of guys, a couple of tricks. They're sitting there against blue-green. They've got a couple of counter spells, some big green guys, and you kind of sit there staring at each other.
Right.
A lot of what you've talked about, it seems to be, I have this plan, it's lots of swamps. This plan, lots of green. This plan, tempo. This plan, card advantage. Everything seems to, the thread that I'm hearing is just plan, 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 plan.
That's limited. I mean, where most people go wrong in limited is that they think it's just, oh, grab this powerful card and that powerful card. That you want your cards to make each other better, just like a constructed deck. When I'm drafting a deck, building a team sealed, I always have a plan of how these cards are all going to interact positively together, and my deck is going to be good, not just a collection of individual cards.
Okay. Now, the big question is, everyone wants to open awesome, and when you open 12 packs, surely it's possible to put one awesome together at the very least.
Yeah, you get some really broken decks.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we call broken decks. And by broken, we don't mean they're doing anything illegal. We just mean they're going to make the game very, very unfair.
So this was inspired by Team China. I was watching them during their deck building, and they have multiple copies of most of these cards in the one same deck. 2 Dark Prophecy, 2 Corrupt. I believe it was 2 of one of Tenacious Den and Bloodbaron and 1 of the other, and some other similar sacrifice effects. Now, normally, you might play a Tenacious Den and Bloodbaron and call that synergy. But when you start to be able to put Dark Prophecy into the deck, you're not talking about synergy anymore. You're talking about a broken deck. You're talking about borderline constructed here. I mean, this could be a block deck. If M14 block was a format, this could be a deck you would play.
Okay, so just take us through the loop then. So you've got a Bloodbaron in play and a Dark Prophecy in play. So whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So you go, I'll tell you what, how about I sacrifice the Tenacious Dead to the Bloodbaron? That's the first bit, right?
Yeah, and you know, you just pay the 2 and bring the Tenacious Dead right back to do it again. Then you draw a card, and obviously if you're drawing extra cards every turn, that's really important. I mean, cards is the most important resource in Magic. It does lead to winning games, but if they're pressuring you and you're spending your time and effort drawing cards and losing life, you could just die. You could just die to aggression or to some burn spells, lava axe,
couple of flyers or whatever.
Whatever. So it's really important that you're able to gain that life back, and that's where Corrupt comes into play there. I wouldn't necessarily want to play this deck with no corrupts, because as you draw all those cards and fall behind in life, you end up getting burnt out or attacked out.
Right.
Now, if you're playing mono black, doing all of this, and then you corrupt on turn 7 or 8, you're talking about 8 life you're going to gain.
Right, and the thing is, for 6 mana on a turn, that Bloodbaron, by my reckoning, is approximately an 8/8. You've lost 3 life, you've drawn 3 cards, you've hit them presumably with your 8/8 Bloodbaron, you've got a Tenacious Dead still sitting there, and then at some point, especially if you've got a couple of corrupts, they are uncommon, but nonetheless, you've got a couple of corrupts in the deck, then you're like, yeah, well, I draw into one of my corrupts, corrupt you for 8, let's do it all again.
Right, kill your biggest creature, and just gain all my life back, and just, now I've got all these extra cards to work with.
And you said that was Team China?
I believe that was Team China. I saw with that.
Pretty awesome. Now, another broken deck.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, well, while this one might be a little more obvious, you know, I haven't seen people too successful with slivers in M14 draft, because normally you just don't get enough. Even if you have 6, 7, 8, you're only going to draw a couple a lot of the games, and then they're going to kill one, and your deck's not going to be that great. However, in Team Sealed with 12 packs, sometimes you just get a lot of slivers. Sometimes you're not going to get that many. I mean, it's 6, 7, 8, and you're not going to want to build a sliver deck. Other times, you're going to have 10, 12, 15 slivers in the same colors. I saw Team Israel. They're the ones who inspired me for this deck and this slide. They had 4 of the Predatory Sliver, 2 Blur Slivers, a Battle Sliver. I don't think they actually had a Meganic deck. I just put that up there because it's so sweet.
Yeah, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, but this is what you want to look for. You want to look, when you're laying out your team sealed, you don't only want to look at your colors, you want to look if you can build any truly broken decks. If you have a deck with 4 Predatory Slivers, 2 Blur Slivers, 2 Battle Slivers, a Megantic, and 2 Sliver Constructs, you're going to win. You're going to win you're probably going to win all of your games, you know? I mean, anything can happen, whatever, but the vast majority of your games you're going to win. So when you're building your team sealed, it's very important that you not only sort out your good cards and your colors, but you look to see if you have any decks like this Dark Prophecy, Tenacious Dead, Blood Baron deck, or this incredible Sliver deck with all of this synergy and rares that go together and just an extremely powerful deck.
Okay. Because people are trying to build broken decks and by and large succeeding at least somewhere in there, does the value of counter magic rise significantly in team play?
It does. In team play, you almost always want cards that are good on their own as well, like Counterspell and dissolve your opponent's synergy. Counterspells, removal, things like that. For example, I'm not a big fan of the enchantments.
Okay.
I don't mean Claustrophobia or Pacifism, those are removal spells.
Yes.
I mean Mark of the Vampire, Lightning Talon,
Blessing, maybe, that kind of thing.
Those can be good in Booster Draft because people don't have that much access to removal in Booster Draft.
Okay.
Oftentimes, you'll draft a deck, one of your two colors has removal, one doesn't, you know, green, red, or what have you, and you'll see 1 or 2 red removal during the draft. So you won't have that many. You'll have 1 Shock, 1 Outrage, and maybe those can't even kill a creature once it's enchanted, or maybe you have 1 to 2 ways to deal with it. But in Team Sealed, since you get 12 packs, your red deck is going to have removal. Your black deck is going to have removal.
Yeah.
So I don't generally want to be playing the enchantments and just playing into my opponent's removal.
All right. Now, I've seen plenty of black spells. I've seen a lot of blue spells. I've seen quite a few red and green spells. What is it about the white? Don't you like the white?
In every set, there's going to be better and there's going to be worse. And in this case, in M14, white is that worse.
Okay.
It's just reality that white is not very strong in M14.
All right.
White's had plenty of times to shine, but sorry, Craig Wesco.
This is not one of them.
This is not one of them.
All right. Well, let's take a look at some of the white cards that we may see in action in the feature match area.
So these are good cards. If you open Pacifism, Sarah Angel, Master of Diversion, you are going to want to use them. I was walking around watching a lot of teams build their sealeds, and they did not even have a white card in any of the 3 decks. They had a mono black, they had a green splashing a few red removal, they had an almost mono blue playing their Doomblades because they had the Archomancers. They had a heavy black deck with a couple blue cards, a heavy green deck with a couple blue cards, and a mono red deck. I mean, just going team to team, I saw so many teams that didn't even play white. The reason being, white doesn't have very much. But more often than not, in 12 packs, you are going to open a few good cards. You are going to open a Pacifism or 2, maybe a Sarah, maybe an amazing rare like Archangel of
Thune.
Yeah, maybe an amazing rare like that. And of course, you want to use them.
Yeah, so, Scavenging Ooze and Archangel of Thune.
Yeah,
little bit rude.
So even if white is the worst color, and even if your white is not very good, assuming you don't have multiple Corrupts or multiple Howl of the Night packs, a reason to stay mono, then you're going to want to put some of your white cards into your black deck or into your green deck. There's absolutely nothing wrong with building a deck that's, say, 17 black cards, 6 white cards, where you play your 2 Pacifisms, your Sarah Angel, your Master of Diversion if it's an aggressive deck. You know, maybe your Charging Griffin if it's an aggressive deck. You know, a Griffin Sentinel if it's a more controlling deck. You do want to put to work your Sarahs, your Pacifisms, definitely your Archangel of Thune.
Yeah. What is interesting, though, when I look at those cards, again, just listening to what you've been talking to through this fantastic session together, is that Pacifism, it's a card that deals with a card over there. There's no synergy involved in Pacifism. It's just, yeah, well, you had something and now I've had something and now those are kind of off to one side not doing anything. Sarah Angel, it's just a creature. It being an angel isn't particularly relevant. There's no life gain that ties into other cards. It's just a guy. And as you said, every deck is going to have the removal. Master of Diversion, there's synergy with having other creatures that attack, but nonetheless, if they've all got removal, perhaps it's a format where you're not going to have being able to sort of rush through with a 2/2 for 3 mana on
These
turn
cards
4.
do not pull you in any direction. These cards are not so much better in your green deck than your black deck or your red deck, but they are good magic cards. You are going to gain value from playing Pacifism on your opponent's big creature or playing a Sarah Angel into play. So that's why you generally kind of sort out the decent white cards, because you know you're not really going to play a heavy white deck because it's the weakest color, but then you take your 5, 6, 7 good white cards like this and put them into whichever deck wants them, whichever deck does not need to stay mono, whichever deck like does not already have a good addition. For example, if you had a heavy green deck but you don't have Howl of the Night pack, then you don't want to be mono green. You want to be 11 or 12 forests and 5 or 6 of another color, and then you'll put your 6 white cards in that deck. If you have or black, the same thing. If you don't have corrupts, then you'll take these 5, 6 white cards and put them into your black deck.
Okay, now, with the news that Chinese Taipei and China drew their opening match of the World Magic Cup, I can tell you that the players are ready for round 2 of 7 today. Ben's going to be back tomorrow telling you about the even more complicated Team Seal format of Return to Ravnica. We're going to put him in a nice darkened room for the next 23 hours or so. Ben, thanks so much for that.
Thanks
Let's
for
get
having me.
down to the booth. It's time for round 2 of the World Magic Cup 2013.